Of free men. So what does that make the Cubans now? What's that? They're outcasts. They're not part of this. So that's the bad example. And now the Kennedy administration is rolling out a profoundly new and optimistic program that's meant to tell Latin Americans, don't pay attention to Fidel, because he's wrong and he's bad. Instead, we're going to prove to you with the Alliance for Progress that you can have all of these good things that you've pointed out in the document, but you're going to do it the American liberal capitalist way. Liberal meaning just traditional, capitalist economics, capitalist development, rather than communist-oriented development.
When Kennedy uses the Spanish terms in here, is that something that he's familiar with, or as a language that comes natural to him, or is this something that people say we've got to do this to pay lip service to these countries, that they will like us, they will like my message more if I speak in their language? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know too much about the interaction in terms of that speech. I think Kennedy was very receptive to kind of throwing things like that in, like benign Berliner, things like that. But I think what you see there is reflective of a very conscious effort of the speechwriter, but I'm not familiar with who actually wrote this, to really make that effort. Because think of what that means. This is another important point. The program that he's describing here is called the Alliance for Progress, right? It's not called the massive U.S. Latin American aid program. Okay, so the rhetoric is, I think, very important. If you think of an alliance, what does that imply? Okay, togetherness, partnership, and partnership implies what in turn? Common goals, cooperative relationships, all that's true. Now you can have a partnership and common goals of, say, you and your kids, say. But is that the kind of alliance that we're talking about? And think of what alliance means in terms of power relations. Or what a partnership means in terms of power relations. Yeah, it implies a certain degree of equality, right? A partnership is supposed to be a give and take. Okay. Again, even though we're billing it, Kennedy's tremendously compelling in the words, the overall rhetoric and tone, but again, that's going to be one of the problems with the alliance, is that the mechanics of it don't live up to the billing. So we'll talk about some specific problems here, but let me just get away from this. Any other questions on this particular document before I zap it away? Okay. And then how about we just look at some specifics as to what this alliance actually is and what it does. Okay, this is just bare bones. The alliance is going to be a program of economic development and social reform, which you guys have talked about. And so economic development and democratic institutions are assumed to work hand in hand with each other here. Okay, and again, this is the fundamental goal, the fundamental assumption. Okay, is that these go hand in hand with each other. Okay, formally, the alliance is going to be rolled out in late summer of '61 in Punta del Este, Uruguay. But again, the reason that it exists, the reason it's created, is because it's meant to tell Latin Americans that this is the alternative to Castro. The much better in their view, alternative to Castro. You know, so if you're comparing this to other areas in the world,